Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to talk about horror and books. And today I bring you a book tag. I haven't done one of these in a long time, but I found one that it is Christmas themed and I don't think I've ever done one of these, so I thought why not, let's just do it.
It's coffee time.
It is called the Cozy Christmas book tag. I will leave the original creator in the comments down below, and I've seen this one in other people's channels and I was like, let's just do it for the fun of it. So let's get started. Also, before I forget you guys, I'm going to be leaving the questions for you in the description box down below in case you also want to do it. Let's go to the questions, shall we? The first one is Twinkling Lights. What is the most beautiful book you own? Now, I own quite a few books and honestly there are so many amazing, beautiful covers, especially some of the like vintage horror paperbacks that are in paperback from hell. I love those covers so much. Some of the ones that I bought this year that I really love is this cover from James Herbert, The Fog. I absolutely love it. It's stunning. I also really like this one, Dead to the World. I think it's very simple, but I just love this type of older covers. So those are the covers that I kind of love the most, but there's also a book that is really special to me that I brought back from England in one of my trips to the UK, and that is Stephen King's It, and this is the first print edition from the UK in hardcover. And I really love this edition. I really love this cover with the house and Pennywise, and it's been one of my favorites from the Stephen King vintage covers. Now, it was not cheap but I'm really happy that I have it, and actually my partner got this for me as a present when we were together in London, so yeah, I have the best partner. Next we have The Perfect Tree. Will you pay more to get the prettiest edition of a book? Yes. Sometimes I have waited to purchase a book just because I couldn't find exactly the edition that I wanted from that book. Sometimes, one example is actually Catriona Ward's The Last House on Needless Street. The cover that I had available here everywhere was this one, and I was not in love with that one because I mean, there's nothing wrong with that cover, it's just simple, but I was in love obviously with this one because it has a cat in the house and it's kind of creepy and atmospheric, and I was like, I need to get this edition. So I went through the internet and I found it somewhere here in the Netherlands for shipping, but I paid a lot more money than I would have paid if I would have gotten the other edition in hardcover. So I did end up paying more for this just because I wanted this cover, even though the book, you know, the content is exactly the same, but I needed this cover. Build a snowman, make a Christmas book stack. I think I'm gonna do a Christmas themed books, or books that I think are good for Christmas more than colors. So let's do it. So I have here a small Christmas stack. I tried for these to be books that I have not talked about either on my winter recommendation books for this year or my Christmas recommendation books for 2022, so that you have something a little bit different in this book tag. So I'm gonna quickly go through them. The first one is one that is kind of like a comedy, and it might not be as horror intense, but I remember this one being a lot of fun. People say this is The Office but horror, and that is Secret Santa by Andrew Sheffer. I did have a really good time with this one. It's not a really big book. This one follows a character called Lucy, and she's kind of being a victim of pranks in her new job, and she also feels like people are, you know, trying to get her. Also, strange accidents start to happen in the company, and like I said, it's not maybe as horror heavy as you would like it perhaps, but I still have a good time with it. The next one doesn't need much explanation, is The New Year's Party by L. Stein. This is part of the Fear Street books, and this one's gonna be perfect to read it in that last week of December, so that you read it basically on the new year and you know what you can expect from a Fear Street book. So this one is a lot of fun and it's short. Next, for people that love short horror stories, I have Who Goes There by John W. Campbell, and this includes the novella that inspired the movie The Thing by John Carpenter. This is part of why I picked up this book, but it comes also with other novellas, with other stories. So this is perfect for the winter. Obviously, if you've ever seen The Thing or know about it, you know that it takes place in the Antarctica, so it is quite cold, and there is a shapeshifter that is putting people in danger. Will they be able to get this kind of monster before all of them are dead? You'll have to read to find out. Next, I have Freestack. This is by Caroline B. Cooney, and it's part of the Point Horror books, and this is the one that I have read in the month of December for the Point Horror book club as well. And this one is just a lot of fun, classic, you know, pranks and jealousy and revenge and all of that teenage angst, but with a little bit of horror. And Christmas, I feel like it's the perfect moment for ghost stories, so I've picked up here a classic, and that is Time for Andrew, a ghost story by Mary Downing Hahn. I know that she is a writer that a lot of people that I follow in the booktube community like grew up reading her horror stories. I was not one of them, but I've been picking them up now because I want to know. And ghost stories, like I said, are perfect for winter. This one is also not too long, so it's perfect if you still want to grab it for Christmas. And last but definitely not least, I have Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This one also takes place in the winter. This is a fantastic thriller with some horror elements to it, and it is all about this woman that lives in a cabin isolated with her husband, and there is a monster that is lurking around the house in the woods. And this book is a lot more than that. It deals with a lot of grief. Please do check the trigger warnings for this one. And also, it's a book that reminds us that monsters are not just animals. Sometimes humans can also be monsters. Crackling Fire. What book makes you feel warm and cozy? Obviously, it's not really a horror book here. I would say Heartstopper. Those books really make me feel warm and cozy. But if I have to pick a horror, I feel like vintage horror gives me more those cozy vibes. If I pick up like a Christopher Pike book or a Point Horror, Fear Street, Goosebumps, like all those older ones, they kind of have these cozy vibe to me. They're also fast-paced and short, and you can just sit down on a winter evening, enjoy your coffee, chocolate, whatever you want, and just finish the book, and it's just so cozy under the blankie. So those really work for me. If not, probably one of those cozy thriller mysteries with cats in the cover. Those tend to work really well. Moving to the next question, it's called Knee High Socks. What is the longest book you've read? And again, I think it might be It by Stephen King, because this is a chunker of a book. This is huge. I don't know if it has like 1,200 pages or something like that. It's just crazy, depending on the edition, of course. But if not, I guess you can count A Song of Ice and Fire, because I've read all the books by George R. R. Martin, and those are thick boys as well. So those are probably some of the thicker books that I have read, but I've been reading Stephen King for a while, so there's a lot of chunkers in his collection. Ugly Sweaters. What's the ugliest book you own? To be honest, since I have been purchasing books before moving, and I still have been purchasing books when I already moved into this house, I have gotten rid of a lot of editions that I didn't like and either replaced them with new ones, or I'm waiting to replace them with the good ones, because I just hate really ugly covers. I just hate them. One of the collections I'm trying still to change, because I still have some of the old ugly covers, is the Darren Shan Cirque du Freak books. So basically this is how the old covers look like, which are really cool, and I really like these ones. But I have not been able to find all the books in this like edition, and I have, I think, still 3 of them in these other covers that, you know, I just think they're ugly. You can't compare, you just can't. You know, it's simple, I'm not saying, you know, but it's just ugly to me. So I'm still trying to complete the series like in these covers, which is hard. Blizzards, a book set in winter or a book that gives you the chills or has dark themes. So I recently actually made a video about some winter books and I don't know which video is gonna come up first, but I also have a video coming this month on Christmas books, horror Christmas books, so you can check those for recommendations. But another one that I really feel like it's perfect for, especially when I heard the word blizzard, I automatically thought of No Exit by Taylor Adams. I know I've mentioned this book many times in my channel before, but honestly it's such a good winter thriller. It's one of the best I've read, because thrillers tend to be a hit or a miss for me, especially when you get to the end, and I felt like this one delivered. And it's still one of my favorites, and it does happen when there is a blizzard, like a snow blizzard, and we have 5 strangers that find themselves in a some kind of like a rest station, and they have to stay there for the whole night until the snow patrol is able to remove the snow from the streets and they are able to keep driving home. And of course there are some secrets that these people are hiding. It's really interesting, and I really encourage you to pick it up this winter if you've never read it before. Home for the holidays. For the rereaders out there, are there any books that feel like going home? So for me, I feel like there is few books that I reread. I really have to love the book a lot for me to reread it, or maybe I'm just in the mood for something really specific and I remember a book that I read that I enjoyed like 5 years ago and I'm like, oh, I could just give that a reread. But it doesn't really happen too often. And again, I'm going to repeat myself because I've mentioned this book before as a comfort reread, and I know it's a polarizing book. Not everybody loves it, but that is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. I've read this one already like 3 times, and I feel like I could just pick it up again and just reread it, and it's just like this book has something that makes it so mesmerizing to me. Like when I start reading, I'm so invested and so into every single sentence and word, and I'm just like on board for the ride, and I just really love to revisit this book. Every time I read it, I feel like I'm seeing things, feeling things that maybe I didn't see before, and it's just like a new experience every time. If you've never heard about this book before, first of all, let me tell you, do not watch the Netflix movie adaptation. It's nothing, like nothing that could ever be compared to the book. It is about a couple that are driving. It's the first time that she's going to meet his parents, and she's a little bit nervous. And she starts, you know, talking to him a lot, but also she starts thinking a lot about stuff, and she starts to think about ending things. And that is kind of wide, but that's the purpose of it. And I also encourage you to not research anything else and just go into the book knowing only that. Alright, you guys, so these were my answers for the Cozy Christmas Horror Book Tag. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you thought. Which is a book that is really a comfort, cozy read for you, or a book that you reread all the time. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye!